A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki. ISKCON founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada ki. Nitya Lila Pravishta Srila Gorki Shodas Babaji Maharaja ki. Nitya Lila Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaja ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Shri Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vyasa Gaur Bhaktavinda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki. Vrindavan Mayapur Dham ki. Ganga Maye Yamuna Maye ki. Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi ki. Yoga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan ki. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Bala Bhakti Karta Gopi Jana Bala Bhakti Karta Gopi Jana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamana Tira Vanachari Yamana Tira Vanachari Madha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So on the calendar, today is called Vasant Panchami. Jalangi, what about the devotees here? Are they got it? Have they got their handphones? Shubha Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, Niking Dalama. Huh? No, but there's people here, none. I just asked her. She said she didn't hear it. Do chuẩn bị halama. Shuddha Bhakti. Can Ting Dao. Ting Dao Jalang di Fani. All right. So today is the auspicious day, Vasant Panchami. It is supposed to be like the beginning of spring. We see in the worship of Lord Jagannath, they perform the ceremony, the Oda Sasti. Odan Sasti. They offer garments to Lord Jagannath. They offer the big blanket to Lord Jagannath. That was in mid-November, mid-December, that month, on the 6th day of the month. Sasti means the 6th day. So at that time they offer heavier cloth to Lord Jagannath to wear because the weather starts to get cooler. Mid-November, mid-December, that time of the year, it becomes cool. So they offer the heavier cloth to Lord Jagannath. And it's a special festival held every year on the 6th day of the month. So Lord Chaitanya would go to see that festival every year with the devotees. So Pundarik Vijayanidhi came to Jagannath Puri. Pundarik Vijayanidhi is a very great devotee, very much loved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, Pundarik Vijayanidhi came from his home, which is over in Bangladesh now. And there's a place there called Pundarik Dham. And that's the property of ISKCON nowadays. And we're very lucky to have that property. It's very valuable, very historic. Pundarik Vijayanidhi was known as Bap by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bap means father in Bengali. So Lord Chaitanya would address Pundarik Vijayanidhi as Bap, oh my father, because Pundarik Vijayanidhi in Krishna Lila, he is the father of Radharani. He is Maharaj Vrishabhanu. And Lord Chaitanya is cultivating the mood of Srimati Radharani. So therefore he thought of Pundarik Vijayanidhi like his father. Shows he had great love for Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Pundarik Vijayanidhi is also sometimes called Premanidhi. It's another name for Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So it happened that Pundarik Vijayanidhi went to visit Jagannath Puri. It was very appropriate because Gadadhar Pandit he is the disciple of Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Right? Gadadhar Pandit is he's in the expansion of Srimati Radharani and Chaitanya Lila. And so Pundarik Vijayanidhi is like his spiritual father. So Gadadhar Pandit, he took initiation from Pundarik Vijayanidhi. That's a whole another pastime. But anyway, we want to speak about Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Well, he was a great devotee. It happened anyway that Gadadhar Pandit, he was told by Mukunda Datta, that there's a great devotee coming to Mayapur. You should go and see him. He's really a great personality. So Gadadhar went to see him, and Gadadhar's a brahmachari. He was the lifetime brahmachari. He never married. And he was very renounced his whole life. So Gadadhar went to see Pundarik Vijayanidhi. But when he saw Pundarik Vijayanidhi, he thought, he doesn't look like a devotee. He doesn't look like a very great devotee. He's not very renounced. You know, he had nice cloth on, and he had all the rings on his fingers, you know, like Bengali people sometimes do, you know, they have ring on every finger. And he had some necklaces and nice cloth, lace and silks. And then he was sitting on a big seat like I am. And there's a whole table with all kinds of namkins and sherbets and different juices all in front of him. You know, sweets and savories, they were all there, all delicacies, all put out in front of him. And Gadadhar comes, and Gadadhar's a brahmachari, very austere and renounced. And he thought, whoa, this man, he's in Maya. So much sense gratification, so many fancy foods to eat, so opulent. How could he be a great devotee? So Gadadhar was not very impressed, and he was thinking to go. But then Mukunda began to sing a beautiful verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? One of these verses like, Ahobakastam kanakala kutam jagam sayapainad apyasabi. Like that, who could be more merciful than Lord Krishna, that he accepted the sister of Baka, right? Who was the sister of Baka? Putana, right? The sister of Baka was Putana. He accepted the sister of Baka as his nurse, and he took her to the spiritual world. Although she came offering her ahobakastam kala kutam. She had deadly poison on her breast, and she was offering it to Krishna. But Lord Krishna, so merciful, he took her back to Godhead. So this is the beautiful verses in the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's spoken by Uddhava, talking to Vidura. And when Mukunda sang that verse, Mukunda was very wonderful singer. He had the most beautiful voice. And when he sang that verse, it awakened the ecstatic love, the bhava, which was in the heart of Pundarik Vijayanidhi. And when he heard the verse, he just fell off his seat and he knocked over everything. He knocked over all the video cameras and all the amplifiers and computers and everything. And he was rolling on the ground and crying, and the floor became flooded in tears. And he was in so much ecstasy. And Gadadhar was watching, and Gadadhar understood, oh, this man is really, really a great devotee. So Gadadhar was really impressed, because Pundarik Vijayanidhi was in ecstasy of love of God for some considerable time. So Gadadhar, he thought about this that night after he went home. He considered that I've made a great offense, that I was thinking this man is not a very good devotee. I was thinking he's a materialist. But he's so great devotee, he has so much love for God. And Gadadhar thought, what can I ever do to atone for my offense against him? So Gadadhar, he went to Lord Chaitanya and he asked Lord Chaitanya, he said, will it be all right for me to take initiation from Pundarik Vijayanidhi? So Lord Chaitanya thought, he said, oh yes, very nice, very good, do it. So Pundarik accepted Gadadhar Pandit as his disciple and initiated him. However, it happened that Gadadhar went after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. Gadadhar also went with Lord Chaitanya to Jagannath Puri. Gadadhar was very attached to Lord Chaitanya. He never wanted to leave Lord Chaitanya. He wanted to go everywhere with Lord Chaitanya. And after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, Gadadhar followed him to Jagannath Puri, and he was living there. But somehow it happened that Gadadhar, he gave his mantra, which he'd received from Pundarik Vijayanidhi. He gave the mantra to somebody else, and he'd forgotten the mantra. So he wanted to get the, he asked Lord Chaitanya, he said, can you give me that, can you give me the mantra again? Could you initiate me? Because I've forgotten the mantra which Pundarik Vijayanidhi gave me. And Lord Chaitanya told him, oh, no, I cannot do that. You've already got a guru. You have to get the mantra from your guru. But he said, my guru is not here. We're in Jagannath Puri, he's not here. But Lord Chaitanya told him, he said, don't worry, your guru is coming here soon. And so it happened that Pundarik Vijayanidhi came there to Jagannath Puri. And then it was very happy, very nice. Lord Chaitanya was very pleased to see Pundarik Vijayanidhi. And Pundarik Vijayanidhi is also a very, very good friend, very intimate associate of Swarup Damodar Goswami. Swarup Damodar Goswami, remember, he's one of the intimate, very intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Along with Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar, they were the most confidential associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Pundarik Vijayanidhi gave Gadadhar initiation again. He gave him his mantra again. So that was very nice. And then it came to the festival, this Odan Sasti, where Lord Jagannath is getting the winter cloth. And they took Pundarik Vijayanidhi to see Lord Jagannath and to see this festival. So Pundarik Vijayanidhi, you know, he's from a Brahmana family. So the Brahmanas, they're very caste conscious and they want to follow all the rules and regulations. So it happened that when Pundarik Vijayanidhi saw them offering the cloth to Lord Jagannath, that Pundarik Vijayanidhi said, hey, he said, look, this is not right. They're offering cloth which is all stiff. It's got starch, it's all starched, it's the new cloth. It's not been washed yet. According to the Smriti regulations, before you offer cloth to the deities, the cloth should be washed. You should wash out the starch from the cloth. You should wash out we should wash out the starch. But in Jagannath Puri, they don't do that. Jagannath Puri, they have their own standards and their own customs. Maybe you remember, we told before how Ramanujacharya came there to Jagannath Puri, and when he saw how they were worshipping Lord Jagannath, Ramanujacharya wanted to change everything. And he went to see the king, and he told the king, we have to get all the brahmanas, all the pujaris, get them all here tomorrow morning. I'm going to tell them how to do everything properly according to the Shastras. So Ramanujacharya, very important person. So the king, of course, he agreed. Yeah, all right, come tomorrow. I'll call everyone. Everyone will come. So Ramanujacharya went home. The next morning, all the brahmanas came and assembled there in the palace of the king. Everybody was there, but Ramanujacharya wasn't there. And they thought, well, what happened? You know, where's Ramanujacharya? He was the one who called us all to come. He didn't come himself. So then they found out what happened. During the night, Lord Jagannath transported Ramanujacharya out of Jagannath Puri and took him to Kurmakshetra. Kurmakshetra, if you go to Jagannath Puri, and then from Jagannath Puri, if you head south, going down towards Vishakhapatnam, then on the road, on that route, you will pass a place called Kurmakshetra. And there's a famous temple there. That temple, well, it's older now, but it's not bad. It needs some maintenance. It needs some manpower. Sometimes the temples in India suffer lack of manpower. One devotee was just telling me this morning, he said, the government are offering all the temples in Rajasthan to ISKCON. They want ISKCON to take over all the temples in Rajasthan. Problem is, we don't have enough manpower. Even we don't have enough manpower to run all the temples. There's so many temples. Anyway, Ramanujacharya got transported out from Jagannath Puri. Lord Jagannath ejected him and put him in Kurmakshetra. And Ramanujacharya woke up, found himself in another place. Just imagine if you go to sleep one night, you wake up the next morning, you're in another place. It's quite a shock, you know. And he was thinking, what have I done? And he saw the temple and he thought, oh no, this is a Shiva temple. He thought it was a Shiva linga, but it wasn't actually a Shiva linga. It was Kurma. It was a Kurma deity, a deity of Lord Kurma, Vishnu. So he was a little relieved. So he stayed there and he developed the temple at Kurmakshetra. It's a Ramanuja temple. But it shows Lord Jagannath didn't want Ramanuja interfering in the worship of Lord Jagannath. He didn't want him to change anything. So similarly, it happened, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was complaining that how can they do like this? They're offering cloth to Lord Jagannath and they haven't washed out the starch yet. This is not good. This is not Shastra. Lord Chaitanya explained to him. He said, no. He said, this is Jagannath Puri. This is how they do it here. You know, they have their own standard, their own traditions and method of worship. And Pundarik Vijayanidhi argued, I know Lord Jagannath is the Supreme Brahman, but we're not. We're not the Supreme Brahman. Lord Jagannath can do what he likes, but what right have we got to go against the Shastra? Pundarik Vijayanidhi was arguing like that. He said, these Brahmanas, these people are Brahmanas. They're not the Supreme Brahman. Jagannath is the Supreme Brahman. He doesn't mind what you do. But the Brahmanas should know, they should follow the scriptures. Like this, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was finding fault with the Brahmanas in their worship of Lord Jagannath. And they told them, you know, it's all right, don't worry about it. Yeah. That night, Pundarik Vijayanidhi went home and Lord Jagannath came to him in his dream. And Lord Jagannath told him, you dare to insult my devotees. These Brahman, these pujaris are my devotees, they're worshipping me. He said, you're too caste conscious. He said, you're so proud of your caste, you want to keep your caste so much. He said, you get out from Puri. Don't you stay here. Get out. You can go. Leave Jagannath Puri. You want to keep your caste. You're so caste conscious. You want to be a Brahmana. Go. Don't stay here in Jagannath Puri. I don't follow any caste. And my devotees also don't have to follow any caste. Lord Jagannath told Pundarik Vijayanidhi, oh, I'm sorry, my Lord, I've made offense. And Lord Jagannath slapped his face. Not one time. He slapped his face again and again. Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that Lord Jagannath slapped his face for 2 dandas. 2 dandas mean 48 minutes. Continually was slapping him. You rascal, you. And Pundarik Vijayanidhi's face became all swollen, all red and swollen. His cheeks were all swollen. And the next morning, he woke up and he couldn't go out because his face was all swollen. He thought, he didn't go to the temple. Usually every morning you go to temple to see Jagannath. And that morning he didn't go. And Swarup Damodar wondered what happened to Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So he came to his house where he was staying to find him. And he said, oh, what happened to you? Your face is all swollen. I said, did you have an accident or something? So Pundarik Vijayanidhi told him about the dream and how Lord Jagannath had come and chastised him and slapped his face for him again and again. Could see the finger marks even on his face where he'd been slapped. So Swarup Damodar told him, he said, oh, you are so fortunate. You've been punished by the Lord in your dream. Usually people get punished. We get punished, you know, we get our punishment in our daily life. But Pundarik got punished in his dream. He said, this is very special, very fortunate. You're really very fortunate. It's a great blessing for you. So Pundarik Vijayanidhi got the mercy of Lord Jagannath in this way. And he learned Lord Jagannath is not so much worried about all these scriptures and rules and regulations. Of course, that's Jagannath Puri. We, in ISKCON, we do have to follow some rules and regulations. We're not on their platform. We don't have their bhava. So today is actually the appearance day of Pundarik Vijayanidhi. He's one of the special personalities who took part in the mission in Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Of course, he was older than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As I said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would call him Bap, father. So he was older man, but very important in Chaitanya Leela. And some of the people, often we get devotees from Bangladesh, they come and they're connected to Pundarik and Pundarik Dham. Very wonderful devotees. Today is also the appearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. There is Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, different. So this is Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Das Goswami, he was born in a very, very wealthy family. And there were 2 brothers. One was Govardhan and one was Haranya. Haranya was the elder brother, Haranya Majumdar and Govardhan Majumdar. And they were the wealthiest people. They were maintaining all the Brahmanas in Bengal. You know, in the past, the Brahmanas would depend on charity. And the wealthier people were so kind-hearted and charitable that they would give charity. So these 2, one was the father of Raghunath Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and one was his uncle. And they were giving charity like that. And Raghunath was born in that kind of wealth, such a wealthy family. But he was not happy. He wanted to be a devotee. He wanted to be a full-time devotee. He didn't want to just stay at home and enjoy all the opulence and live in luxury and have all the servants. He wanted to give it all up. He wanted to be with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he got the opportunity to approach Lord Chaitanya. And he requested Lord Chaitanya, please give me shelter at your lotus feet. But Lord Chaitanya told him, just be a normal person. Go home and keep Krishna in your heart. Don't be a sahajya. Don't take everything cheap. So Lord Chaitanya told him, just go home and, you know, cool it, you know. Sometimes people get carried away, you know. They want to renounce everything. And so Lord Chaitanya he said, just be calm, go back home and be normal and keep Krishna in your heart. In time, you'll get your chance. So Raghunath followed Lord Chaitanya's instructions. He went home. His family had him married to the most beautiful, chaste young woman who was very nice speaking. She never spoke any harsh words. She was the most wonderful wife. But Raghunath still was not happy. He wanted to be with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he would try to run away from home, and they would capture him and bring him back. Many times he tried to run away, but they would bring him back. So then it happened that Lord Nityananda came to Panihati. Panihati is down near Calcutta, not far from the Dham airport. And of course, we have our nice ISKCON temple there now, by the grace of Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. So Panihati is right on the bank of it's right beside the Ganga. And there were some very nice devotees from there. And Lord Nityananda came there to meet the devotees there. And Lord Nityananda brought all his cowherd boys with them. He had his Sankirtan party. Lord Nityananda was traveling and touring in Bengal, and he had wonderful devotees with him who were all like cowherd boys from Krishna Lila who'd come to take part in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So they were all there at Panihati, and Raghunath came there. And when Lord Nityananda saw Raghunath there, then Lord Nityananda requested Raghunath to come forward, and he told Raghunath, he said, today I'm going to punish you. He said, the punishment is you have to put on a festival for all the devotees. It wasn't today, it's another day, you know. It's in the hot season, right? In the hot season, you'll see after Gaur Purnima, it starts to get really hot. And that's about the time when Panihati festival is. It's really hot at that time of the year. And so they had a big festival. Raghunath was very happy because he's wealthy. He had money. And so he has a chance to spend the money on a nice festival for all the devotees. It's a nice way to use the money. You get money, use it to feed the devotees. I think it was, who was that devotee here? He always used to do, Shamananda's disciple. Who was it? Shamananda Pandit's disciple, the one who had animals who were disciples. What was his name? Rasikananda. Rasikananda. He would do that. He also had devotees travel with him. And they would always, he would just have festivals all the time, a lot of prasadam, distribute prasadam for all the devotees. It's a nice way to use the wealth. So Raghunath was happy, put on a big festival and he bought all the yogurt. You know, what do you do in a village in Bengal? You're not going to get a lot of things. You know, there was no supermarket. There was no big C or something like that, you know, a supermarket you could go and, you know, he just, whatever's available, the local produce, bananas, so a lot of bananas and yogurt and condensed milk a bit also, and shira, flat rice. So that is very nice in the hot weather. Very nice. You take the shira and dahi, very cooling in the hot weather. So Raghunath bought he bought everything. People, all the vendors were coming, take mine, take. Raghunath bought everything, purchased everything. And they had a big offering and they washed everything. They washed the shira in the Ganga. They were right on the banks of the Ganga. And the Ganga water was much cleaner than it is today. They could take the rice and they could just wash it in the Ganga and soak it and then take it and offer it. And they had mangoes, of course, also. That's, you know, it's Bengal, right? Bananas and mango and shira, dahi. This is very nice, especially in the hot weather. Very nice. So Raghunath organized a big festival for everyone, fed everyone. Said even the dogs were fed. Nobody went hungry. Just like when we go on parikrama, right? We feed even the dogs. The dogs have a feast. They come and eat everything left over. So Lord Nityananda was very pleased with Raghunath. He placed his lotus feet on his head, and Raghunath took blessings from Lord Nityananda that very soon he could be relieved of his situation. His family were actually devotees, but they were materialistic. They were attached to their sense gratification. So Raghunath Das, he wanted to be a complete devotee. He didn't want to be a mixed devotee. Mixed devotee means you've got attachments to material life. You're still enjoying the money. You're still enjoying the luxuries of the material world. That is mixed devotion. So Raghunath Das wanted to be the pure devotee. And Lord Nityananda gave his blessings that very soon you'll be able to be relieved of your situation. And indeed it happened. After the Panihati festival, Raghunath went home and he was very detached from everything. He didn't tell anything to anyone. But it came that one morning, the pujari didn't come to wake up the deities. You know, just like if pujari doesn't get up in the morning to wake up the deities, somebody else has to do it. You have to wake the deities. Somebody's got to do it. Where's the pujari? Didn't come. Somebody has to do the puja. You better come on. So Raghunath Das saw the pujari had not come. They said, go get somebody else to do the puja. So Raghunath thought, oh yes, I'll go. And Raghunath left and he understood, this is my chance. Everyone's asleep. Now is a good time for me to get away from here. And he planned it very carefully. He didn't go on the main road where he usually went. He took all the back roads so that when they came looking for him, they couldn't find him. He'd gone. His father sent people, so many people to look for him. They couldn't find him. Raghunath escaped. So he got away from the family. And when he got to, after many days of walking, he got to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya told him, he said, you are very lucky. He said, you have escaped from a hole which is meant for people to pass stool in. Lord Chaitanya described his materialistic life to be like that you were living in a hole which is fit for people to just pass stool. So you were very lucky to get out. If you fall in these holes, you never usually can get out. You're so lucky to get out. So Raghunath Das made it to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya gave him to Swarup Damodar. He became known as Swarupa's Raghunath. Swarup Damodar would take care of Raghunath. And Raghunath was very renounced. He came to Jagannath. At first, his father sent money. His father was so worried about him. His father sent money and servants and everything to look after him. So Raghunath would have a fest. He'd invite Lord Chaitanya to come and take prasadam. And Lord Chaitanya would come with the sannyasis and they would all come and they'd take prasadam. But then after some time, Raghunath sent the money back and sent the servants back. Lord Chaitanya said, what happened? He said, Raghunath is not inviting anymore. He said, no, he sent everything back. He gave up all the money and he sent the servants back. Lord Chaitanya said, oh, very good. So then he said, how is he eating? How is Raghunath eating? He said, oh, he's standing at the door of the temple and he is begging there. What pilgrims come, they give food to the beggars who are at the door. Lord Chaitanya said, oh, very nice, very good. And Raghunath was doing that for some time. He was at the door taking, whatever the pilgrims would give him, he would take and he would live on that. But then after some time, he was not there anymore. And Lord Chaitanya said, what happened to Raghunath? Where did he go? And he said, no, he's still here. He said, how is he eating? How does he get food? I said, well, now he goes to the drains where they wash the pots, which they use for cooking for Lord Jagannath. And he goes to the drains and he collects the different pieces of rice and vegetables which are there at the drain. And he takes it and he washes them and he dries them and then he will eat them. He is eating the remnants, the different foodstuffs, like, that they sell the Jagannath Prasadam. They have the shops there in Jagannath Puri. They're selling the Prasadam from Lord Jagannath. So often it happens, food is not sold and things are left over. So after 2 or 3 days, it goes bad. So then they throw it out. And even the cows won't eat it sometimes. It's so bad. Raghunath would come, he would take it and he would wash it and he would dry it and then he would eat it, he would honor it. Lord Chaitanya heard about this, he said, oh, I never get so much opulence as Raghunath is eating. Lord Chaitanya personally came and took some of that food which Raghunath was collecting and eating. Lord Chaitanya came and ate it. But Swarup Damodar stopped him. He told him, no. He said, my Lord, this is not for you. You are not meant for eating it. But Raghunath was so renounced like this. So when Lord Chaitanya finished his pastimes, he disappeared from the world. And then also Swarup Damodar also disappeared from the world. So Raghunath was so broken-hearted in separation from both Lord Chaitanya and Raghunath that he wanted to commit suicide. So he thought, I will go to Govardhan and I will jump off Govardhan Hill and kill myself. But when Raghunath got to Govardhan, he met Rupa and Sanatan. And Rupa and Sanatan instructed him that you cannot do that. That this life, your body belongs to the service of Lord Krishna. You cannot just give up your life like that. It is not proper. So Raghunath stayed there in Vrindavan and Govardhan. Actually, before Lord Chaitanya finished his pastimes, Lord Chaitanya gave us a very special present to Raghunath. A devotee called Shankarananda Saraswati had come from Vrindavan and he had brought a stone from Govardhan Hill. And he had brought also a necklace of conch shells. And he gave these things to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy. He would often take the Govardhan Shila and he would put it on his head and he would put it over his eyes. And he would, he just had, it takes so much. He said, this stone from Govardhan Hill, he said, this is the form of Krishna. This is directly the form of Krishna, none different from Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya kept that stone with him for 3 years. But after 3 years, one day he called Raghunath and he gave Raghunath this Govardhan Shila. And he told Raghunath how to worship. He told him, you worship with water and manjaris from the tulsi tree. Ganga water and manjaris from the tulsi tree. He said, this is the nicest offering to make to Govardhan. So Raghunath was very ecstatic to get these things from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He understood that by giving me these things, Lord Chaitanya is giving me a place in Vrindavan at Govardhan. And by giving me that necklace of conch shells, he's telling me that I have the shelter of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So Raghunath was worshipping this Govardhan Shila. And then Swarup Damodar told him, he said, it's also good, you can offer some very good quality sweetmeats to Govardhan Shila. And Swarup Damodar arranged that every day they would get some different sweetmeats like sandesh and other sweets to offer to the Govardhan Shila. So Raghunath Goswami, he went to Vrindavan and he lived there in Vrindavan. And when Lord Chaitanya had come to Vrindavan, he had shown the devotees where is Radha Kund. At that time, it was just simply a rice field, but Lord Chaitanya took his bath there. So Raghunath also went to stay there at Radha Kund, but it was just a rice field. And he had no money, he did not bring anything with him, he had left everything. But it happened that there was one pilgrim, he was going to Badarik Ashram. He was going up to Badrinath in the Himalayas. You know, Char Dhams, Badrinath, Kedarnath, like that, Gangotri, Yamunotri. So this pilgrim was taking a lot of gold there to give donation to Badarik Ashram for the service of the ashram there in the temple of Narayan deities are there. But on his way there, the pilgrim had a dream. And in his dream, the Lord appeared to him and told him, don't go to Badrinath. You take this money and you go to Radhakund and you give that money to Raghunath. Raghunath needs that money to develop Radhakund. So this pilgrim, on the basis of his dream, he came down the Himalayas, he went to Vrindavan, he got to Radhakund and he found where is Raghunath. And he told him, he said, I had a dream, the Lord told me, give you this. He gave him all the wealth. And Raghunath used it to develop Radhakund and Shyamakund and to make it, as we know it, something in that form today, very beautiful, nice arrangement for bathing. And Raghunath was living there at Radhakund. For many years, he lived to a ripe old age, but he was always very, very renounced. Hardly he slept. He would chant 22 hours a day. Actually, while he was in Jagannath Puri, he inquired from Swarup Damodar about, he said, what, is there any instruction for me from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So Swarup Damodar approached Lord Chaitanya on behalf of Raghunath. And Lord Chaitanya told Swarup Damodar, he said, you can tell Raghunath very important instructions, which are very relevant for every renounced person. He told them, Gramya Katana Sunibe, never hear the talk of the common people. Gramya Varta na Karibe, and don't talk like the common people either. Don't hear what they say and don't talk like them. And then he told them also, do not eat opulently and do not dress extravagantly or opulently. Always offer respect to all others and do not be anxious to get respect yourself. Constantly chant the holy name of Krishna and within your mind worship Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So Raghunath Das got these instructions from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he kept them in his heart and he followed very strictly, very, very extreme renunciation. He was chanting the holy name 22 hours a day. Hardly he was sleeping. How he was resting, people didn't know how he managed. Did he eat? Hardly he ate. He was so renounced, so detached. How he kept his life in his body was a miracle. In his old age, still he was active in chanting the holy name and in doing his bhajan. It said he followed the regulative principles, just like lines on a stone. He was so dedicated to the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today is the appearance day of Raghunath Das Goswami. Today is also the appearance day of Vishnu Priya. Vishnu Priya was the second wife of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His first wife, Lakshmi Priya, disappeared when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone traveling in Bangladesh. She had been bitten by the snake of separation. So when he came back, he found his mother in a very broken-hearted condition. And his mother requested him to marry again. So he married Vishnupriya. She was a young girl. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a sannyasi at the age of 24. At that time, Vishnupriya was only 16 years of age. So very young girl still. And Lord Chaitanya was leaving home, leaving his elderly mother and his young wife with no child. But Vishnupriya maintained a very strict principles of chastity. It said no man ever saw her face. You know, people would think, oh, Lord Chaitanya had a wife. Oh, we want to go and have a look. She must be very beautiful. Let me see, you know. But nobody could ever see the face of Vishnupriya. And every day she was eating only as many rounds as she chanted. She would eat that many grains of rice. She was so renounced. And she worshipped the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said that she worshipped that deity which is over there, that Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu over in Navadvip. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, they say that is the deity of Vishnupriya. She remained in the world for 80 years after Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. She was 96 when she departed from the world. And she was totally renounced her whole life. So today is also appearance day of Vishnupriya. And today is the disappearance day of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the very great acharyas in our line of disciplic succession, coming after the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote the most wonderful commentaries on our scriptures, like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam commentaries are very, very valuable, very important for all of us. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur compiled many, many books. He was a very, very wonderful devotee, great scholar. He lived in Vrindavan. And it was through Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Baladeva Vidyabhusan learned the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Baladeva Vidyabhusan had actually come from the Madhva Sampradaya. So Madhva Sampradaya is a little different from our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, but he contacted the Gaudiya Vaishnavas and he was impressed by the philosophy. And then when he came to Vrindavan and met Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he got full education in the Vaishnava philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's contribution to our disciplic succession is very, very great, very memorable. We're so much indebted to these wonderful personalities. Today is also Saraswati Pooja. So the students, generally they worship Mother Saraswati. Different artists, people performing artists, singing songs and different things like that, they will all worship Mother Saraswati. They want to get her blessings. Dramatic arts and so on, they will worship Saraswati, that they can perform nicely. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a nice pastime with the one great devotee of Mother Saraswati, who was called Keshava Kashmiri. Keshava Kashmiri, he was also Digvijay. He was traveling and debating everywhere and conquering everywhere. And he had come to Navadvip and he met with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu At this time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not begun his preaching mission yet. He was a teacher, and he was teaching grammar. He was teaching grammar to young men. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a teenager himself, but he had his own students. He had many students. He was a famous teacher. So Keshava Kashmiri happened to meet with Nimai Pandit, and they met on the banks of the Ganga. And Keshava Kashmiri was somewhat ridiculing Nimai Pandit that, oh, you're a teacher. Oh, you're teaching grammar. Oh, very good. Or you're teaching these boys grammar. You're teaching them how to juggle words. Oh, very nice. And he said, this is good for young boys. Of course, he was saying this is just for young boys, people who don't know very much. This is just the beginning of education. They don't know anything. Keshava Kashmiri, he was a great Pandit, very great scholar, learned. He had all the blessings of Mother Saraswati. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit, he wants to humor Keshava Kashmiri. He said, yes, he said, we're just learning. We don't know anything compared to what you know. You please show us your erudition. Please, can you kindly compose some verses in glorification of Mother Ganga? So Keshava Kashmiri said, oh, yeah, no problem. You know? And immediately Keshava Kashmiri begins to recite poetry, wonderful verses describing the glory of Mother Ganga. One after another, he was composing verses. It is said he composed the verses just like the blowing wind. And he went on for 3 hours composing verses. After he stopped, Chaitanya Nimai Pandit said to him, he said, oh, your poetry is so wonderful. It's so difficult to understand. I think only you and Mother Saraswati herself can understand it. Yeah, that was like a wry remark. You know, he's he's making fun of her, telling Keshava Kashmiri, your poetry, nobody can understand it, what you're speaking. You know, what's the good of it? Nobody can understand it. Only you and Mother Saraswati. What's the good? But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you know, he said, there was one verse I wanted to discuss with you. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then quoted the verse. And Keshava Kashmiri was astonished. He said, you know, I composed these verses like the wind. How could you even begin to remember even one verse? Did you remember this one verse? How did you remember this verse? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to him, he said, well, he said, just like the Lord gave you ability to compose poetry, he gives other people the ability to remember the poetry. That is called Shruti Dara. Shruti Dara, it means you hear and you remember. And Prabhupada said before the Kali Yuga, everybody was Shruti Dara. Nowadays, nobody remembers anything. All right? But Shruti Dara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Shruti Dara. He'd heard the verses and he'd analyzed the verses. And there was this one verse which he memorized, and he said, there are some good qualities, nice ornaments in this verse, and there are also some faults. So he said to Keshava Kashmiri, would you like to tell us about the ornaments and the faults? And Keshava Kashmiri was like insulted. What? Faults? There are no faults in my poetry. My poetry is perfect. Chaitanya, Lord Nimai Pandit, he said, well, let me show you. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then analyzed this one verse, which he had picked out from all the verses. And he told him the different faults and the ornaments as well. And Keshava Kashmiri was just totally defeated. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his students, they're laughing, ha 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 ha, our teacher beat you, ha ha. He was a big pandit coming, but he was smashed by this young boy, young man. So Keshava Kashmiri was wondering what has happened, that he thought, I could be humiliated in this way by this young man. He thought, I must have committed an offense against Mother Saraswati. Therefore, this has happened. I've been offensive to her. So that night, he prayed to Mother Saraswati, did I offend you? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I must have done something wrong to offend you. You took away all my ability. I could not defeat this young boy today. And Mother Saraswati then told Keshava Kashmiri that that young boy, he is my Lord and Master. He is my worshipful Lord. So Keshava Kashmiri understood who was this Nimai Pandit. And he came back the next morning and he fell at the feet of Nimai Pandit and he begged forgiveness and he took the blessings of Nimai Pandit. And Nimai Pandit instructed him, Amanena manadena, offer all respects to others and don't be anxious to be respected yourself. And in this way, Keshava Kashmiri gave up his pride of being a great scholar. And instead of being a devotee of Saraswati, he became a Vaishnava. He became a devotee. So this is Saraswati Lila in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today is Saraswati Pooja. We want to offer our respects to all these great personalities today to get their blessings that we can progress in Krishna consciousness. So we are observing this Vyasa Puja, this Guru Puja, this festival. You're honoring me. I don't know why. I am nothing. I'm not worthy of the dust at your feet. I'm a fallen soul. So we're praying for the mercy of all of these great devotees. Please help us to become Krishna conscious, that we can progress on our path back home, back to Godhead. We all are here in this material world. It's a very troublesome place. There are so many things to be in anxiety about in this material world. We have to give up this world. There's nothing to be attached to here in this material existence. We have to be convinced that there's nothing really for any of us here in this world. Our real place is with Krishna in the spiritual world. We want to go back to be with Lord Krishna. We want to enter into the pastimes of Lord Krishna, either as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or maybe in Vaikuntha, maybe in Dwarka, Mathura, different places. They're all there in the spiritual world. We're just trying to develop our taste, our appreciation for these wonderful holy places and for the wonderful pastimes which take place there in these holy places. It is our great fortune that we could be here in Mayapur Dham at this time to benefit from being in the holy Dham of Sri Dham Mayapur. Prabhupada was traveling in America on one occasion. He turned to his secretary and said, let's go back to Godhead. Let's go back to Mayapur. So we are so fortunate to be here in this Mayapur Dham, and our purpose in being here is to develop our Krishna consciousness. We must take advantage of every moment to chant the holy name and to hear the glories of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his associates, and to serve also all the pilgrims to come here. We're not here just only for our own purification, but we want to also give service to others who are coming here. So many people, visitors come. We want to take the opportunity to also try to serve the Vaishnavas. That is actually very pleasing to Lord Chaitanya and to Lord Krishna, when he sees that we're also the servant of the servant of the servant. That mood is very pleasing to Lord Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows by his own example. Aman ena manatena kirtaniya sadahari. Offer all respects to others and never be anxious for respect for yourself. That is what we want to keep constantly around our necks for constant remembrance. The material world is a dangerous place. So many dangers. If you hear from the devotees living in other countries, so many dangers, so much trouble. And also here, this world, India also no different. There's also dangers here. Therefore, we have to constantly remember Krishna. Our most important business is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. All other rules and regulations are secondary. So we pray to Krishna somehow that we can keep the lotus feet of Krishna always on our minds. Render service. I was saying how Lord Chaitanya told Raghunath, render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. How can we do that? Well, we can hear about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Prabhupada kindly gave us the Krishna book, and we have also Srimad Bhagavatam. You can read the 10th canto. You can hear all of the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. We want to cultivate our Krishna consciousness. Krishna's in our heart. We just have to awaken that consciousness. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadai Shudachite Korehi Udai. That love for Krishna is in the hearts of every living entity. It is established there eternally. But it has to be awakened by hearing. Very important for us, therefore, that we hear regularly the message and the topics of Krishna, the teachings of Lord Krishna. We want everyone to hear. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his literature, we're able to give more and more people the chance to hear about Krishna. So we try to distribute the message of Krishna, and we want to relish also the topics of Krishna, our own self. So this is an important time in the year. We're coming up to the appearance of Srila Advaita Acharya, and then there will be Nityananda Trayodasi, the appearance day of Lord Nityananda, and we will go on to the most auspicious appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Purnima. So many wonderful festivals are coming for us. We want to be in full consciousness to take advantage of these festivals, to hear and to chant and to immerse ourselves fully in the mode of devotion. And that way, our stay here in Mayapur will be successful. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.